Welcome back. This is still Megan, and you're still listening to Kinda Coast Fire, which is my podcast about stepping down from full-time work. After 10 years of corporate grind, I'm now working 20 hours a week, baby. First of all, I have been learning Canva, and I shared on my Instagram like a week ago or something a free PDF download. Oh, hold on, my cat needs out. She figured it out on her own. Okay, so about a week ago, I shared this Halloween meal planner thing because I have the heart of a scrapbooker, but not enough energy. So it's a PDF. You can download it onto like a tablet, which is how I use it. And I've got a video that just went up of how I plan my meals for the week, roughly. I say roughly because I happen to be very well stocked right now, and I didn't actually need to go to the store and get anything for my meals for this week. Normally I have to buy a couple things, but I finally convinced my boyfriend to take me to Costco. My car's in the shop, that's why I didn't go by myself. So it's been a while since I've been to Costco and, dropped my little over $300. So I should be pretty fucking well stocked for a month, I hope. I might have to pick up some like fresh vegetables and fruits, but I also might not because I buy those frozen too. We'll see. Sometimes I like to make a little game about how long I can stretch this. Which segues into the topic of this video, which is about cutting expenses versus increasing income. Anyway, if you want to go check that out, my YouTube channel name is the same as this podcast. It's Kinda Coast Fire. It'll be the latest video on there. So if you've been following along, you probably have noticed that my method of achieving financial freedom has had a lot to do with cutting my expenses rather than increasing my income. I have, over the past 10 years, increased my income from when I started. I started at about $50K, but I never really increased it all that much. I never doubled that salary, for example. I've never made over $100K in my life, and I'm 36 now. And I kind of hate how the internet, especially the fire community, acts like that's low. Or like, of course you'll eventually get your income up to six figures. Everybody does. That's not true. I guess I probably could have, been more strategic in what I applied to, been harder on negotiation. I could have taught myself new skills to get into a higher paying market. Those are all things that I could have done. But instead of increasing my income to meet my spending patterns, I realized that my spending patterns weren't really serving me. They weren't making me happier necessarily, so I decided to cut back more than I decided to increase my income. Both of which are viable options, of course. Plenty of people prefer to increase their income rather than cutting their budget. But for me, it was easier and less strain and less stress to cut my expenses. Now, again, my expenses I'm not saying they're like the lowest in the world. And obviously there's a limit to how much you can cut before it's just not achievable or sustainable anymore and you have to make more money. But I was lucky enough to never be in that position. Except maybe in grad school. In grad school, I made $10,000 a year. That was, when did that end? That ended in 2013. And that was pretty ugly. I did make it, but with many roommates and a terrible apartment and a terrible car, and I had to borrow money from my ex. So, in that kind of situation, I needed to increase my income. I didn't take out any loans, though, during that period. And honestly, I probably should have, because my mental health was bad. But when it came to the time when I was making, $50K, it was like, that's plenty of money. I don't want to increase stress by looking for, a major promotion or taking courses, getting a new degree, whatever. I wanted to focus way less on work, actually, So in my case, it made more sense to create more flexibility in my life by reducing my expenses as much as I could. And I still feel like that. And it's gotten to the point where like, I wouldn't change my current budget if I made significantly more money. I don't think. There's a point at which I can't imagine what I would do, like if I made so much more money. But if I made like, up to like 200% more, I don't think I would do anything different. Because I've learned to be really happy with what I currently have and what I currently spend. And when you don't have to spend a lot of money every month, to me that's freedom. That means any extra money that you make can it can go, honestly, I think going to investments is fun, but it doesn't have to go there, even though that might be like technically, mathematically the smartest place to put it. It doesn't have to. It can go somewhere else that you think is fun. It can go towards a fun trip. It can go towards a Peloton. I don't know. So that's why I try to keep like my rent low, and I try not to find necessarily like the nicest place I can possibly live, or even like in the top 80% of places I could possibly live. The only thing I might do different with more money and with regards to my living situation would be to buy a house. And that would be so that I didn't have a house payment every month. Like, I honestly think I might buy a house in cash. That's how much I hate monthly payments. Which is not what you're supposed to do. Like, it makes way more sense to leverage that by taking out a mortgage, assuming you get a good interest rate. I probably still wouldn't buy, like, a fancy house, though, or what I define as a fancy house. What I define as a fancy house is probably, like, just the average house. But I don't think I would buy that because it just seems like, I don't know, it seems like a lot of things to maintain. It seems like a lot to clean. The property taxes, like all of that, I don't want to mess with it. I will happily go to your fancy house though. I like them. I'd love to come just lounge around and read a book in your fancy drawing room or whatever you got. A library. That's my jam. Love to have a library. I mean, not like in reality. See, this is interesting too. I think as I've gotten older, I have become more comfortable with the idea of liking things that I don't necessarily want to have. Like, I like the idea of a library. That sounds really cool a lot of the time, and I could see a version of myself really enjoying it. But the version of me that exists, I haven't even unpacked the books that I have after moving here over a year ago. And I'm thinking about selling them because books are a real pain in the ass to move with. And I've moved so many times in the past few years that I want to like reduce all of the things that I own. I think the fact that I have moved so often is partially why I'm like this. It's just such a hassle to move belongings. I don't want that many of them for that reason. I want my life to be a little more portable. Now we're getting into minimalism, which I didn't actually think of when I thought of the topic of this video. But this is why I say these podcasts are like therapy. Like, I ramble and then I make meaning out of my rambles. And now I realize that that's what I'm really getting at. I'm getting at minimalism. Being a minimalist, and I'm not really a minimalist. I do have a lot of stuff and I love my things. But having fewer things to weigh me down, fewer monthly expenses, fewer things to move, all of that is what real freedom means to me. And what I like about that is that my income doesn't matter that much. Again, there's a threshold. There's a point to which, and it's not even the poverty line, it's above the poverty line, but there is a point at which I would be strained, right? Because like I said, I spend around $2,300 a month. I would be able to cut that in some cases, but I don't really want to. So anything below that would be pushing it for me. But I don't think that's all that bad. Like, there are plenty of jobs I think I could find that would afford me that standard of living. So in that sense, it doesn't really matter how I make money, which is exactly what I want. But your mileage may vary. I'm not saying, as always, I'm not saying I'm doing this the right way. This is just what I found works for me and makes me the like happiest, most peaceful and content version of myself that I've been able to be. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed this a little bit. I'm gonna sign off, pet my cat. That's not a euphemism. I'm really gonna pet my cat. She's in my lap. If you like this podcast, you can rate it. You can leave a comment. If you want to be friends, you can follow me on Instagram. I'm at bitch.fires. Thanks for following along. Love you. Bye.